due to receiving a career, oh, maybe not career, hopefully not career, but I'll just say season-ending injury. But before we really even get to that, I want to talk about the Golden State Warriors in general. I feel like this has been a team that's been plagued with so many distractions, as well as it's kind of like watching this fading dynasty that is doing everything that they can to continue to keep on chugging, because they have an all-time top 10. By the time it's all said and done, we're going to really talk about top 5 all-time player. And it's one of those things where when you have a player of that caliber, Stephen Curry, you have to do whatever it takes to extend this career. Because, hey, we were having the conversation of Golden State being a thing of the past. We've had this conversation 3 times, even as recently as 2020. And look what they did in 2022. They came back and won the NBA championship. That's what happens when you have a player of Stephen Curry's magnitude. Let me just give some glaze real quick. One of the reasons why I love Steph is his existence is what free-flowing basketball should be. He is the ideal NBA superstar. He is kind of a sense of the immovable object that is Stephen Curry. That's why I love a player like him, because he emphasizes that movement is what changes the game. Having space. He ushered in not just the 3-point shooting era, but he ushered in a state of movement from off-ball players that have never been seen before. And the reason why he's going to continue to be as great as he is because of, even in the years and the timeline that we're in of heliocentric basketball, we can still look at Steph and be like, well, as long as he's on the court, there's space on the court. And that's where players have been moving to, being able to give that ball up. And even if the ball in your hands, you could still be valuable. And when you have a player like that, you got to do what you can. But I've been watching this, whoo. The only team that I've seen that's been that has been even as close to as unserious as the Golden State Warriors have been is the Milwaukee Bucks. But before we get to that, I like to highlight, it feels like everybody that should be helping Stephen Curry right now has done everything that they can to minimize his greatness. I was watching one of the games recently. I don't know if it was against the Milwaukee Bucks, but it was against the team where there's a clip that's going around where literally for like 7 straight plays, it just looked like turnovers, throwing it behind your back, people having mittens on their hands, nobody can dunk the ball, just a whole bunch of players that seem to be it seems like a bunch of players are on this roster that are continuously being spoon-fed throughout their career. And let's just talk about the way that their team has been set up to begin with. One of the reasons why the Golden State Warriors dynasty has been so prolific is because they've been able to obfuscate some of the facilitation roles that come from Stephen Curry onto other players. Draymond Green, we had some David Lee way back then. And it gets to the point where not only is Draymond actively deteriorating as we are watching the game, but we're also seeing the other guards that are on this roster not being able to hold up like a Jordan Poole used to, like the Klay Thompsons of the world. And then you're just watching, it's like, can they shoot? I mean, I guess. Can Gary Payton slide into that Draymond Green role? He's a good defender, but he has some mishaps. Is Draymond Green able to hold up the defensive edge that he's been able to bring throughout his whole career? He's been falling short ever since like 2023. We've truly seen a drop off like a guy like Draymond Green. And it's frustrating because it seems like there's been more news about this team than there has been winning. And it's tough and it's also difficult when you have a roster that's been constructed this way, because of even if you're going to start looking at some of the new guys that are on this roster, it seems as if they have a lot of players on this team that should at most be getting 15 to 20 minutes. But on this roster, since they've been gutted so much, it's leaning towards the 30-35 minute territory, for example. And let's even just talk about Steve Kerr, the way that he is throwing some of these players in and like watching how they work. He has had this consistent dislike for a player of Jonathan Kuminga, where even as he is a young athletic wing, about 6'9", 225, 230, and he's been put on some of the shortest leashes for a guy of his caliber, a guy that was drafted as high as he was, where he wants to play and then coach won't play him. And it's like, oh, when coach does play him, he is not getting much valuable minutes. And then it turns into, I'm trying to force my coach to play me when my coach doesn't like the way I play. And they're like, hey, we want you to play as if you are recreating this Kevon Looney type of wave with him, where it's like, well, I could do more than Kevin Looney. I am able to put the ball on the ground. I am able to shoot occasionally. His three-point percentage has now dropped back to normal. It's been very tough to watch. And this has been before bringing in a guy like Jimmy Butler. And honestly, I love the Jimmy Butler pickup. And honestly, I still do love Jimmy Butler's pickup. I really hope they figured out a way to make all this. I really hope that he's not too injured. He was feeling very positive when he tore himself. And I hope Jimmy Butler is really not injured, because he's a great guy in my opinion. I don't care about all the narratives. But speaking of Jimmy Butler, when he was on this team, the role that he was playing, I really liked how he has this vibe to him where he knows that he's a superstar and he can always do more with less. He was doing that back on the Heat. Honestly, he was doing that with Minnesota before they shipped him off, but that's a whole other conversation, where as long as he's on the court, he is athletic enough and he knows the game enough to be able to be savvy to get at least 18 points here or there and being able to turn it up when need be. And his defensive prowess, again, it's kind of like on the offensive end, he is getting older, and he is older. I think he's like, 36, 35? I think he's as old as Curry, somewhere around that age. And he knows that he doesn't have the juice when he was in Chicago, but he knows how to play the game. He is a pros. He knows how to use pro moves. That's very important when you are getting up in age like he is. And when you watch, he had such a way of playing off of a guy like Steph Curry, because of, it kind of reminds me of the adage where if you have talented players, they will figure out how to work together if they know how to play the game the right way. And Jimmy Butler is a type of player that can work in Miami Heat and then go to the Golden State Warrior and just inhibit that personality, or not even say inhibit. He's been able to make it his own, right? Because of, he has all-star upside. Like, there is games where it's like, yeah, no, I am objectively the best player on the court. You could have Kevin Durant, you could have Giannis, you could have LeBron. I am the best player on the court. And that's something that I really like about him, because he's been hard-headed. He's a hard-headed hooper. He's been able, actually, and not even to mention, I really enjoy his ability to cut into space. That's one of the things that I really love about a guy like Jimmy Butler. But beyond that, let's talk about how he is. I'll be very surprised if he's able to come back next year as even usable, honestly, because of this NBA, or at least this new form of the NBA. They have really looked around and said, you know what? This whole Father Time stuff is nonsense. I am greater than time, because the amount of old heads that are still in the league, when you start looking back, the early 2000s, the 90s, the 80s, and the players are done after like 15 years at most. If you get 15 years, you are greedy. But this type of NBA, everyone wants to play like they LeBron. They all want to go to 40, but that's a whole other conversation. I'm sitting, I'm looking. I don't know if he's able to keep up this old man game like he will when next year comes around, because of, it's either Steph can be like, you know what? I will just have my swan song and I'll just like ride off into the sunset. But I truly believe there's going to need to be a trade that sends Steph somewhere worth it, or at least that I hope that he goes somewhere worth it. Him and Giannis need to figure something out, but a whole nother conversation. I want Steph to go somewhere that he's able to build upon, or not even so much build, but give a breath of life to a roster. I do not think that you could be a bad NBA team if Stephen Curry's on your team. I don't know that is possible. He has one of those, not just emphatic, but he has the type of play style that makes average players good. And it takes a lot to drag upon a whole roster that way. And I feel like he's going to run himself into the ground trying to save the last embers of this roster. Because it's like, I don't even think they got too many assets. I don't think they got too many assets. I think they have a 2031. I think they have a contract. They have a draft pick 2031, but I don't know if that's a full-on swing for the fences type of move, or if it's I don't know if it's a trade your future to try and give a heartbeat to this team. But then I ask you, what type of players are you trying to get right now? Because it's like the only NBA players right now that I could see being moved and it being like a worthwhile for a roster like that is maybe like a Karl Anthony Towns. Who's some guys in the, maybe go poach some guys from the New Orleans Pelicans, see if they want to get rid of some of their guys. Because it's like, I don't know if there's any players that are worth mortgaging the rest of your future to try and give Steph an extra 2 years of playing. Because, like I said, Steph's on the wrong side of 35. He's on the wrong side. He's going to keep getting older. So, is he able to still keep up at this top 5 NBA player pace that he's been on? Because of, I don't know if running himself ragged is worth it for the roster construction that they have right now, because if they don't got young players, their older guys seem to be more doing far more harm than good. Where's Buddy Hield? I have not heard about Buddy Hield in a long time. Not only have there been a lot of swing and misses when it comes to drafting guys, but there's been so many misses on trying to acquire new talents. Like, we had all that hullabaloo over trying to get rid of Klay Thompson. He is too old. They went and picked up a guy like Buddy Hield. And I don't even want to call his underperformance a mark on his own character. Or not. I don't want to call the acquisition of Buddy Hield to be a truly negative one on his ability to play the game of basketball, but I feel like there's not enough there for that to be the play that they do, because of they have been dropping on the defensive end, and not even to mention they made such a hullabaloo of trying to get Klay Thompson out of town because they did not want to sign him again for a major contract, that they went and got Buddy Hield that's probably going to need another major contract. So it's tough. And I don't want it to be a thing where they disrespect Stephen Curry's end of his legacy like this, where they're continually fighting for a play-in spot to a great that has been holding up his end of the bargain.